This tutorial video will explain how to create in-text citations according to APA Style 6th edition when writing a research paper. When using ideas or words from another source, whether quoted or paraphrased, you must give credit to the author or authors of the source. This is called in-text citations. Credit can be given in one of two ways. You could have a parenthetical citation followed by the quoted material or paraphrased material, or by directly mentioning the author and year in the text in conjunction with the quoted or paraphrased material. So let's look at each one of these. The first type of citation is the parenthetical citation. For a parenthetical citation, you are to list the following at the end of the sentence: the author's last name, year of publication, and page number separated by commas. Now you only include the page number if it's a direct quote. If it's not a direct quote, then it's just going to be the author's last name and the year. And a period always follows the citation. So this is our example: Bandura, 1986, P period 425. That's the page number. Close your parentheses and then period. The two things I see people mess up the most is the period after the P and the period at the end of the sentence. It always goes after the parentheses. It does not go before. For an in-text citation, the year of publication is always mentioned in conjunction with the author's name as follows. The year follows the author, but the page number follows the quotation. Example: Bandura 1986. The 1986 in parentheses is the year the article was written. It immediately follows the author. And then the page number for the direct quote is at the end of the sentence. Now notice the period for the sentence is still after the parentheses. It is suggested to use both types of citations in your writing. You do not have to choose which one. Just mix it. Using some in-text citations can add strength to your writing. When you have an article that's written by 3 or more authors, the rule is the first time you mention the article in your paper, you are to list all of the authors. The second time, you can shorten it in the in-text citation. In other words, you can do Bandura et al. To represent everyone else except for the first one. And the same thing if you're doing an in-text citation, you can do the same thing if you're including the author's name in the sentence. You may come across a situation where you'd like to quote or paraphrase a source as cited in another source. The rule is that you're to attempt to find the original source and use it, but sometimes you can't. For those situations, use the original source author in the sentence, but then in parentheses at the end of the sentence state as cited in the secondary source. In this case, it's the secondary source that is listed at the end of the paper, not the original. There may be some cases where you're citing something that has an acronym. It's a much shorter way to state the company or organization or government agency. The rule is the first time you state it in the paragraph or cite it, you are to write the entire thing. For example, Mothers Against Drunk Drivers. And then in brackets, right behind it, put the shortened form and then finish the citation or finish the sentence. The second time you use it in the sentence, then you can use the shortened form. If you want to cite something that does not have a date of publication, then you are to put N period D period in place of the date. You are to do this in the in-text citation and at the end of the paper in the list of resources. This usually only happens for websites or textbooks written by Glencoe and McGraw-Hill. These are a few final things to remember when writing in-text citations. You only include the page number when citing from a direct quote. If you're just paraphrasing, you do not have to include the page number. If a quote has been taken from one or more pages of text, write PP period instead of P period in the citation. Electronic sources are treated just the same way as print resources. However, if it does not have pages, you are to count paragraphs if you're doing a direct quote. For example, Wilmuth 2010, para for paragraph 9. If the non-paginated document is especially very lengthy. It's probably going to have headers in it, and you can cite from the header. For example, Wilmoth 2010 discussion para 1. So that way you don't have to count as much. More examples of APA can be found at the Purdue OWL website. Also, I have a handout, and this is the link that will take you to the handout I have on APA that just gives some outline and some other examples. If you have any questions or you'd like me to review something on APA, feel free to email me at kfarmer10@murraystate.edu for any questions.